Today on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, we check out one of my favorite EQ plugins, Gullfoss from Soundtheory. Amongst the many plugins that are out there, you have several different types. Just even within the EQ range, you have the old school kind of EQs, the hardware emulated versions of the EQs. You have just some regular straight up the middle stock EQ plugins. And then you have stuff that are looking to the future and that are solving problems right here, right now. And one of those plugins is one of my favorite plugins, Gullfoss from Soundtheory. Now, right up front, this video is brought to you by Soundtheory. They have sponsored this video, but I want to stress that I actually purchased Gullfoss and have been using it for like 2 years. So I'm very familiar with this plugin, and that's why it just kind of makes sense for me to show you guys how I use it. There's several different ways to use it, but I am in Logic, and I'm going to show you several different examples so you can hear really what this does. But the foundation of what it does so the foundation of what Gullfoss does is it is a real-time EQ, and there are some dials and some fine tuning and some ranges that you can select and tweak with, but really think of a regular EQ as when you notch something, it is like that no matter what is going through that EQ, whereas Gullfoss is actively listening more than 300 times a second and adjusting for your preset settings in real time. It's a real time listening EQ. It's listening to you. It listens to you, talk to it. So I'm in Logic, and just to give you a comparison, a regular EQ plugin like this awesome FabFilter Pro Q3, if I notch something, it's going to stay notched, right? I'm gonna go ahead and open up Gullfoss, and we have recover, we have tame, we have bias, brighten, and boost. I'm not even going to isolate everything. I have this particular instance of Gullfoss on my 2 bus, and I'm going to turn it on and off, and I want you to hear what it's doing, and then we're gonna talk about what it's doing. That is a single instance of Gullfoss on my 2 bus. It makes a massive difference and adds clarity and cohesion in my mix, but you don't have to use it this way. However, let's go over some of the controls and what exactly are we looking at. So first we have the first pair of controls, recover and tame. Now recover is going to focus on the frequencies that could use a little bump in volume, whereas tame is going to tame and kind of bump down the overbearing frequencies. Bias is the balance between tame and recovery. So if I cranked bias, it would favor the tame. If I lowered the bias, it would favor recover, if that makes sense. Brighten is self-explanatory. It adds brightness. And now boost is not a gain makeup. It is more of a kind of a low mid boost control. I don't generally use boost at all. Most of the time I'm playing with recover, tame, and bias, sometimes brighten, but I will note that brighten, you can either brighten or you can darken your overall mix depending on where you have the tame and recover. So if you have recover cranked and you like the overall sound, but it's still a little harsh, you can then come in over on the brighten control and lower it. Now the last 2 controls that are kind of hidden unless you're looking for them, if you mouse over, this is the frequency range in which Gullfoss is working. And you can select any range you'd like. You can get really, really narrow, or you can get really, really wide with it. Generally speaking, for something like a 2-bus, I want to affect and process all of the frequencies. So that is why I have it wide open. It's a wide open playfield of frequencies for Gullfoss. Also, in case you're wondering, Gullfoss is reading out what it's reading out because I have some tape emulation and oxide tape stuff going into and summing right before this instance of Gullfoss. So let's step out of the mix zone, as it were, and let's hear Gullfoss on a bass guitar, a bass DI. This is a raw DI from a Music Man Stingray. You can hear it playing in the mid-range, and depending on what sound you were going for, this could be a really handy tool to add some additional brightness going into an amp if you're reamping, or just some overall tweaking to fit better in the mix. Notice that the recover, again, can go up to 200%. I'm not going, well, I'm going kind of nuts with it. I'm at 150%. It sounds really, really good, even alone as a bass DI though. Now let's check out Gullfoss on an acoustic guitar. This is a single mic. This is a Lawton LS208 condenser mic. And I'm going to fatten up and kind of take off some of the pick attack using just Gullfoss. So if I wanted to go ahead and pinpoint the actual upper end pick attack, I can do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play the track, and I'm going to use the parameter controls, the boundary controls as it were, and I'm gonna focus in on the top end. In this way, I'm kind of using Gullfoss as an acoustic guitar de-esser, if that makes any sense. Very, very handy if you're getting some pokey frequencies that you don't want to just necessarily like high cut or high shelf, as it were, and just taking a shelf and just lowering it. If you don't want to do something static like that, this is definitely the better option for solving an EQ problem. And that does it for Soundtheory Gullfoss. This is a really, really great plugin. This is literally used on everything I do in some way, shape, or form. There's never a day that I don't use Gullfoss myself. I've used this for many, many years, and shout out to Soundtheory for making this video possible. And I will link down below if you would like to give this a try for yourself. There's a free trial, and if you want to buy the full plugin, it is $199. It's absolutely worth every penny. having paid for it myself. Use it every day. Love it. All the pickable links down below in the description. You've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the video that you just watched, please consider subscribing. It helps me, help you, and then in turn you get more stuff to watch. And also, I have all sorts of stuff down in the description of this video. Sweetwater giveaway stuff. There's all sorts of links to all sorts of things. So consider checking that out as well if you're gonna hang. But if you don't hang, all good. I still love you.